Hey y'all, welcome to My Way Mysteries, the channel that brings you interdimensional content, which means that the readings are from a broad and expansive point of view as they are channeled through vast dimensions of space and time and therefore should resonate with you guys whenever you come across them. So I've gotten a lot of emails about this interaction with entities. It seems to be something that you guys are really intrigued by. Um, a lot of questions. So I wanted to do this video where I speak about the guidelines to interacting with not just entities, but also your spirit guides, your ancestors, and basically beings that are of non-dense form, right? High frequency beings that are of non-dense form. Again, low frequency and low vibrational doesn't mean, I don't mean evil or bad by that. That just means restricted. Like those that are probably have like, they would act the same way you do. It's just that they are like non-dense form. So why would you, what is the point? Whereas high frequency beings or high dimensional or high vibrational beings rather are way light years more expanded than we are. And the restrictions that our mind plays within in order to live, that like it is of no consequence to entities. Like they have pushed past those boundaries ages ago, maybe never even been within those boundaries, so they're able to give you answers or create paths and roads where you would have never been able to do so. I also want to announce that I'm going to start offering entity readings. That was also based off all of the questions that I got. I'm going to start doing entity readings. Now you might be asking, but Zanne, these prices, what the fuck? It's because of the frequency that is involved with entities, guys. Entity is not beginner spiritual stuff. It is, it's high frequency stuff, it's high vibrational stuff, and that's why the price is like that. So yeah, okay, cool, let's get into it. I might pull some cards around the end of the reading, we'll see, but for now let me just like, channel you through it. Okay, so if you're a beginner and you are communicating with your guides, you're trying to communicate with your ancestors, I would advise you to have a candle, a white candle or a yellow candle, and also light some incense or light some impepo. So in your culture, whatever plant you use in order to bring about a meditative state, but to also kind of like make the veil thinner, in our culture, impepole. So in your culture, it can be something else. I hear sage does the same thing. So yeah, white sage. White sage does the same thing. So if you're in a place where you can get white sage, I think white sage grows around the whole world. So yeah, you can get that. You can also get it in incense form. That will really help you to. So what this does, the scent part, which is the impepo or the incense, it helps you break down certain barriers to your mind. It's kind of like those of you that are into plant medicine. That's actually what plant medicine does. It's not actually so much about getting high, it's actually more about breaking down certain barriers of your mind and also rewiring certain neural pathways, because what you don't understand is that you're actually a very mechanical being. You do things the same way, like all the time. You react the same way to certain things, like a robot. I don't mean that to offend you. It's just how your mind works. It's just how the mind works. Okay, it's just how the mind works, and it's how you're conditioned to be. When certain things come up, you even get trained as to how to react through certain movies, the certain shows. You get told, if a person says this to you, this is what you're meant to say to them. Whatever state of human being we're in right now, we were taught to be that. It's not natural, it's normal. And as you know, the whole point of the channel is to get you to your natural state of being. And so things like impepo and incense, when you're trying to get into a state when you want to communicate with an entity or an ancestor or a guide, it breaks down these certain barriers that you have. Barriers that might include you thinking something like fear, for instance, like, oh, I'm scared, like, what am I doing? This is against the church rules, and so forth. It puts you into a certain state of flow. It connects you to some ancient part of yourself that knows that you've actually done this before and this is okay. A part of yourself that remembers a time when you were teaching others how to do this, and you know that this is okay. Just because the current rules of society may perhaps say to you that what you're doing is like forbidden, you know in your blood that this is okay. This is actually your natural state. It may not be the norm out there. Your next door neighbor might not be doing it, but it is the natural state of being, to connect to other dimensions of the self, which include, and which is entities, ancestors, spirit guides, and so forth. Angels, um, supernatural creatures, unicorns and shit, fairies, who are not as bubbly as people think. But yeah, story for another day. Um, so yeah, if you're a beginner, or even if, let's say, yeah, even if you're someone that maybe you feel like you're able to feel the presence of your spirit guides and so forth, but you feel as though you're not in a state where communication can be had. It's more of just like, things like light flickering, or feeling warmth on one side of your body, or having certain dreams, but there's never been actual communication, because that's how it's supposed to be. Ultimately, that's what you're going for, guys. You're going for actual communication. Like, if you feel like you're not there, then go back to the beginning. Learn to light a candle and do the impepo or the incense or the white sage, right? And then next thing is questions, especially with entities. Guys, you're allowed to ask questions, especially if an entity wants to collaborate with you. Don't just get taken for a ride. You're not getting kidnapped. Like, what is this? You are a free being in your own right. It is your own state of expansion that has gotten you to that space where you have attracted an entity. You are worthy of this entity. It's not a thing where you're still auditioning, or it's like, am I good enough? Like, and that happens, and that's why I'm saying it. To attract an entity does give you imposter syndrome. It sometimes kind of makes you want to just like start worshiping almost, and be like, oh my god, this entity shows me, what do you have for me, oh great. And like, bro, chill. Like, that's not what it's about. Like, and it's cool because, guys, entities are so loving, and that's what we haven't been told. And that's what I keep trying to tell you guys in the other readings that I've had, is that the biggest restrictions that we have on our minds is, and that we have on our whole beings, is duality. And that's why, in order to interact with an entity, it's important to allow yourself states of non-duality. Our civilization is about 6,000 years old. Our religions are about 3,000 years old. When life form started on this planet was about 200 billion years ago. 200 billion. In comparison to the 6,000 years of our civilization. Whatever template you have for what's wrong or right is about 6,000 years old compared to 200 billion. It's not comparable. We're not even children, we are embryos. So whatever idea that you have of right and wrong, that is your shell that keeps you in that embryonic state and doesn't allow you to be born, doesn't allow you to actually experience even a little bit of this world. The entity that you're connecting with, or the star being that you're connecting with, the Orisha that you're connecting with, is way more than 6,000 years old. Like, way more. If you've done a quantum origin reading, then you've connected to an ancestor that is way past the 6,000 mark. You have a sense of origin before this civilization. Then you understand that whatever idea you have of what's right and wrong, at most is just a guideline. And yes, it's a guideline to help you develop, and it's a guideline that's there to also help you where you're going. But remember that it's also a restriction. That's not me saying it's wrong, because that would be a part of the duality. I'm saying it's something that is to be transcended. There is more than that. That's not where the story ends. Your idea of good and evil is not where the story ends. The story stretches out further. And out there further is where you meet your entity, is where you meet your star being guides, is where you meet your guardian angels. Guidelines as to how to connect with entities, ancestors, and your guides. Ask questions. Ask questions. Ask. Zanne said, right and wrong is just a guideline. Can you tell me more about that? Ask. Maybe you're not in that stage yet. Maybe you're not connecting to an entity, you're connecting more to your ancestors. So you don't really give a fuck about duality or non-duality right now. You've got problems in your marriage. You've got problems in your relationship. You've got problems in your job. Um, Ask about it. Be like, yo, I'm not happy in this job and I don't know what to do. Light the candle, light the incense, light impepo, and ask. Some of you have felt a presence of certain angels or a certain angel. Maybe you've connected to like certain archangels. I almost said Samuel, unlikely. Like Michael, maybe, only because Samuel is how do I say, he's weird. Samuel is not for the faint at heart. I'm not saying that you're faint at heart. I'm just saying that if you're wanting guidance and like, your marriage and so forth, actually, yeah, the type of guidance you're looking for is not yet what Samuel offers, because Abo Samuel bahambelana ninzunza, type of thing. They're the type of angels you meet at that stage. But then like you've got Michael. Michael is a lot, but he's also very helpful. That's what your guides are there for you to know that you're not alone, for you to know that you're connected. But it's like sometimes y'all are weird about the spirituality. So I'm not sure what you think it's for, but this is very much what it is for. Ask. Be like, I don't know what's happening in my marriage. Please help me. Now, the restrictions on your mind based on the duality are going to tell you that this angel is going to sprinkle some moon dust onto your marriage and just make it okay. But here's what's going to happen: it's gonna give you the eyes to see certain things in your marriage, certain things you may not want to see, but it's the reason why maybe you are feeling what you're feeling. And then the decision is still left up to you, that having given you the eyes to see, because that's what you asked for. You said, help me with this. So the entity or the ancestor or the guide will give you the eyes to see exactly what it is that's happening in your marriage, clearly, whatever it is, and you can then make the decision. Because I also understand that the certain restrictions on your mind make you think that asking help from an entity has to come in a certain way. Now, there's also the part of, okay, Zan, so I ask the questions, make a list of them, ask the questions. So is it just gonna come back with the answers? Because of the restrictions on your mind, that's not how it works. You have to learn how to receive answers. After that, leave it. It's like, if you've ever been taught about manifestation and stuff like that, and how you kind of speak it into the world and then you leave it, you let it go, and then you carry on with what you're doing, and then you watch the universe kind of form the thing for you. It's kind of like that here too. You're gonna ask your questions, and then you're gonna, depending on your ritual, maybe you're gonna blow out your candle, or maybe you're gonna let it burn till the end. You're gonna turn off your incense or whatever, and then you're gonna carry on with your day. You're gonna go wash your dishes, you're gonna go bathe your kids, you're gonna go prepare for work, and then from there, as you're doing that, as you're washing your dishes, there's certain concepts that start coming into your mind, certain things that you maybe didn't think about, like that day when your kid was playing in the playground and blah 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 blah. And there's something about that that answers a certain question that you had. And there was the day when your niece was asking like you like this and this to help her with her homework, and that question, it comes about like because that's how entities and ancestors and your guides speak. They speak through everything around you. Everything around you is always speaking to you. You just need to learn the language of nature. And it's such a beautiful thing because, again, you're never alone. I don't know why this is making me emotional. How bizarre. How so very bizarre. It's as if to speak to entities and our ancestors is to speak to everything. It's as if to speak to God is to speak to everything around us. Like everything. So yeah. Um okay, what else? Okay, hold on. Okay, guys, with some of you, the entities that you're meeting, you're kind of afraid of. And I want to go back to the example I was making about our civilization being like 6,000 years old and the universe being about 200 billion years old. So many things have changed. The idea of good and bad changes over time. It changes depending on cultures. It changes even depending on geographical parts like of the world. Like right now, it's really frowned upon to, for instance, mm, to even work with an entity is like frowned upon. And yet there was a time when we lived side by side with entities. There was a time when we married entities, where our families were formed of entities and humans. And then of course there was a time when entities and humans hunted each other and so forth. So yeah, things change. The same entities today some of which are called demons, are the same entities that helped the kings of the past complete what they wanted to complete. It helped, those entities helped them become kings. Those entities helped them build kingdoms. Some of those entities were their wives. And these are the same entities that are now archetypes of evil and so forth, because the agenda has changed now. Some of you may be wary of even iNzunza yako because it feels as though it's a dark energy. And yes, I want to say it is dark. Dark in the sense of that you do not understand it. But if you allow yourself to be open, I want to go back to the part where we used to interact with certain entities, and some entities are in our bloodlines. And because we now live in a time where you're told to shun the idea of entities, a lot of you are shunning a part of yourself. And that's why a lot of you can't awaken in Zunzayako, because Nzunza is an entity and you being told you cannot. Some of you had ancestors that were in love with entities, and you are in love with Inzunzayako, but you don't want to admit that to yourself because that's weird and that's evil. And you don't understand that you need guidance more than anything. What you actually need is guidance, because oh, I am digressing a lot today. You guys remember, the book of Enoch and how it tells us about the watchers and how the watchers, um, they fell in love with the humans because the humans were beautiful. Um, and they don't tell you the watchers were masculine and feminine, right? But anyway, the watchers fell in love with the humans and they started having relations with the humans. And what they don't tell you in Enoch's book is how a lot of those humans died. I think you can just have sex with an entity and then just go about your day, tra la 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 la. No, it's a transformation on its own. And that's what the watchers were not aware of, that would happen. And that's what they actually got punished for. And then you have the humans that lived, that survived the transformation. Yo, they became magicians, they became oracles, they became physicists, they became healers, they became astronomers. They were able to see beyond dimension, travel beyond time, space. Yeah. Do you guys want me to do some tarot? I feel like I've said enough. I also feel like it's Sunday, so why not? Especially if you've watched this far. I thank you. I appreciate you. Let me do some tarot for you to show you how much I appreciate you. Damn. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Oh, okay. 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 I don't know why I just told you the story of Enoch and the Watchers, but it seems to have something to do with some of you. Some of you got to book quantum origin readings because I've clearly just tapped into some people's quantum history as to why is it your family has certain powers. Yeah, you're moving into a space in your life where it's uncharted territory. So you don't have the luxury of saying, oh, all these people have gone through this certain road, because obviously that's very safe. It's very nice to see that, to be like, "Ay, kudala abantu beyenza le nto lena," like it's a known thing, so I'll obviously be fine. What you're getting into, you've either only heard me talk about, or you somehow had messages from your guides but you didn't know how to translate them. I feel like I should give you another guideline though. I feel like I cheated you in those guidelines. There must be something else, surely. I feel like that's it though. Learn to put different puzzles together. And at first, guys, sometimes when you get told something, today is really like a story time, like, type of session. So this one time when, way before this, I was still in corporate, but it was like my last year. I was about to step into the unknown. I was basically about to make this trip, like this whole uncharted thing. You know, when the moon shines your path, but you're the only one that can see it because it's only your path and it dares you to go down the path and you'll be taken care of and everything will be fine. But will you? An entity's idea of you will be taken care of is not the same as your idea of you'll be taken care of. However, you will be taken care of. You'll honestly be fine. When you're done and look back after the crying and the, suicidal thoughts, you'll realize that you were okay. You were okay. It's just that when you're in the depth of it, it's like, Lord, take me. What are we even doing here? Take me. But anyway, like this entity was explaining to me how, so I did marketing, right? So I think it was kind of, it had hacked like that part of me, that part of my brain, and it was trying to explain like what it was trying to explain, because it was saying that it said to me that I'm going to understand universal trends of human nature. And I was like, no, that's impossible. Like with trends, you can study like trends in a city or a certain people, maybe a certain gender, a certain race, a certain age group or something like that. And okay, cool. Maybe even a whole country, maybe if you're like, pretty hectic. But here this entity was telling me about a universal human nature trend. I was like, that's impossible. I could actually feel my mind being a certain size, and what it was saying felt so much bigger, and I was like, that's impossible. Like I can't there's no ways I can fit all of that into my being, because my being is too small and that's too big. And at that moment, what I didn't realize I was saying, I was speaking also in account to all the restrictions that I have, and how I didn't think I could create enough space in order to take all of this in, that this entity was saying it will allow me to understand. And throughout the years, we've had this joke between me and this entity about how do you eat an elephant. It's a saying about the saying, how do you eat an elephant? Like piece by piece. Because, yeah, eventually, nom nom nom, elephant crushed. So, yeah, that's kind of you. There's something right now that your entity is saying. Some of you, even in your readings, like personal readings, I'll tell you, like, this is what you're going to achieve. This is the life you're going to live. And you're thinking, it's so, the contrast between what I'm saying and what your current life is makes you think there's no ways. There's no ways. Like right now, I'm so confused. I'm so whatever. And here I am telling you in your personal reading how you will know joy. People will know joy from watching you experience your joy and all of these things. And you're like, there's no ways. Like, boo, yes, there is a way. Like, bit by bit, you're going through that path now. And you're thinking, there's no way this is my path. It's impossible. This transformation, I cannot. But you will. You're one of the people that are going to survive the transformation. Oh, look, like I kid you not, I swear to you, transformation and the page of water. This is like you coming out of the state of transformation. Transformation esoterically is also a word for the death and rebirth process, where this old version of yourself that had a very restricted view on living and on being, and that view was only based on the current conditioning of life, it just nicely passes away, and in its place comes through the part of you that understands even why this entity connected to you, because you guys are made of the same stuff. You connect to the part of yourself that is beyond 6,000 years old. You connect to the part of yourself that was there 200 billion years ago. If you know, you know. But yeah, you're gonna make it. And you've got here Ten of Water, the Empress, and the King of Fire. There's a love story happening inside you, and I don't know why you're denying it. Maybe it's too weird for you. You're like, it's too weird. It's too weird. And like, seriously, this is too weird. Some of you may be like married and you feel like you're cheating on your spouse with an entity. Scandal! Oh God, one day I'll stop laughing at you guys. One day, not today. I don't know, fam. Kuna scandal apa. Listen, because someone here is loved, but they are keeping a secret. Because you kind of don't know how to deal with it yourself. You're like, the fuck, what is going on here? And sometimes you see this entity reflected in other people that may not be your partner, and you kind of feel scared because you're like, obviously, this is going to get you into trouble and so forth. I'm not getting that your entity will do that, that it will put you in that position where you betray your idea of your values, because that would bring you pain. And that's not what this entity wants to do. Because I'm getting that this entity reflects itself in your partner, but sometimes it plays around and reflects itself in other people, and therefore you are drawn to these people, and sometimes that comes with like a sexual attraction type of thing. Like, also though, grow the fuck up. Like, so just like, don't suppress it, because that will fuck you up. I don't know, kind of like, I don't know, speak to your entity about it. Because if I say it, it's going to be like I'm encouraging you to do something bad. So actually, fuck it. Speak to your entity about it. Be like, yo, if you keep going like this, in our communities, there's a thing called cheating. And if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to drive me to do this thing called cheating. And it is frowned upon a lot in our community. Oh, okay, sorry. Committed people, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna put you aside a bit. So there's some of you that are not in committed relationships. You're in like those polyamorous relationships. Oh, you're having the best time of your life. You guys are having the best time of your lives. Cause same thing is happening. This energy, this internal love story is like reflecting externally, where this entity, you are starting to see it in different people, and it's allowing you to be in a state that you've never been in before, where you're in love but not in a restricted way, where it's about the person, the physical person. If you were not aware, I'm going to make you aware now. You're in love with a much bigger thing, and one year it's in this person, but the next year it's in this person, and you're kind of enjoying this flow of love. And people that are in partnerships, you have the same capabilities to do so without just ask your entity what to do. Angizingeni zenu. Kodwa uma ungabhukha i-personal reading ngizokutshela. Ngeke ngikutshele lana bazosijaja. Guys, that's what I have for you. If you want to book a personal reading, all the information is in the description box. If you want to book a mentorship session, all the information is in the description box. Have a beautiful Sunday.